Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Always Almost There, Day After Show Live. I'm coming to you from Connecticut. I think I'm pronouncing that semi-correctly. In the great state of Washington. We are en route to Spokane here. Stop for a pit stop. Shout out to this lovely juice bar for letting me do the pod here. Man, I'm feeling great right now. We are. I'm 5 days into tour. Last night was amazing. I'm feeling great.
You have the healing power of juice. And, we want these sponsorship dollars, so we got to keep this thing going. It's a great place to visit. You can write poetry while you're there. You can do all kinds of things.
Yes. Oh God. All right. Well, let's talk about last night's show. Yeah. Last night was awesome. The venue, the vibe, we're big on vibes here on this podcast. And
it's a vibe show.
Last night had a lot of it. A vibe show with one absolutely colossal jam in it that, makes it not a vibe show, which is really interesting. Because I feel like that's not usually something that Goose does. I feel like there's a straight vibes show where you get a show like last night, basically if they didn't play that Thatch or they played like a 17-minute Ripper Thatch and then like something else for 15 minutes and then the back half of what we got there, or you get like a jam heavy show. And so it's really interesting to kind of see a show like last night pop
up. Yeah, man, it's a tale of two sets, this show. We've got a lot to say about the first set. We've got a lot to say about the second set. Just very weird show all around. But I think front to back, when you really zoom out and look at it, this is an excellent show. There were some questions at a few points, like, what is this? Like, what's going to happen here? But so go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I don't know if it's a tale of two sets more than a tale of 80% of the show versus Thatch.
Yeah, you can also say that.
You have some stuff late first set too. Let's dive in. I just want to talk a little bit about this venue because this venue is incredible. I really want them to play 2 nights here next year. I did the Pacific Northwest tour last September. The Carnation, Troutdale, Eugene run. And I got to say, Pacific Northwest is nice in September. The Pacific Northwest this time of year is unreal. The weather is perfect. Like everything is like green and full bloom. And it was my first time in Bend yesterday. Absolutely love it there. It seemed that the band did too. Rick said during the show that he's moving to Bend.
Yeah.
So, but man, what an amazing place. And I wish we had some more time to explore. I did do, the group of us, me, Avi, Garrett, Corey, Casey, and this other nice couple. We did the conscious pregame with Hannah and Kate, cacao ceremony in the afternoon yesterday. Again, just perfect weather. And it was a really nice way, because I know some of their pregames get like a lot bigger. Like I know their one in Fiddlers next week is like a lot of people. And so getting one where we're just like in a circle in a park, 7 of us, was really beautiful. So shout out to Hannah and Kate for doing that. That was a great pre-show experience.
I still have not done the cacao pregame because I missed it in Mexico, and I've missed it a whole bunch of times. Missed it at Goose. Next time, not going to miss it. Wherever it may be, I'm going to find it and I'm going to go to it because it sounds pretty dope. There are a lot of people I know who are really, really into the whole, ceremony aspect. Sounds
it's good. Great. It's good. And it's funny, everyone's like setting all these beautiful intentions for the show. And I'm like, I hope they play big jams.
I don't think that's what you're supposed to do, man.
No, but it's what I did. It's what I did. All right. So let's talk about this show. Let's dive right in. First set, start off. I guess not really a 3-pack, but Your Direction, No California, Turbulence in the Night Race. Great way to get the show going. Your Direction, closer to its album arrangement again. I love this opening a show, especially when you have, the sun's still out, it's bright, everybody's still kind of in that late afternoon mode, as opposed to like, if it's an indoor show or, if it's already dark out. So yeah, great way to get started. No California, always a treat. People excited for that one. And then Turbulence, kind of an unusually long gap for this song. Last played in Milwaukee, first show of the year. So 19 shows since the last Turbulence, which is the longest gap this song has ever had. The next longest was 10, which has had a couple of times. So, but great way to start off the show. And again, I think I wrote about it in my review earlier that I think the band plays to the vibe of the show really well. If you're opening up, like if they're playing an outdoor venue like this, early showtime, they're going to play a first set that's maybe a little more catered to that kind of crowd rather than if they're playing an indoor show or if the show is getting dark, halfway through the first set. But what do you think of the way that the show opened?
I mean, I like the way the show opened. I think a couple things I noticed right off the bat. The venue was large, and the amount of people at the venue was quite high. I don't know. Did they sell out last night? Do you know?
No. So the venue is like 8,000 capacity, I think.
Yeah, it's like
I think
8,500 cap. Yeah.
if there were going to be 8,000 people there, it would have been a little uncomfortable. I know there were upwards of 4,000 people there last night, which is great. And I mean, similar to the shows in the Pacific Northwest last fall that were like the 3 that they did were like 7,000 or so, and they had like 3,500 in attendance. Doesn't feel empty, doesn't feel crowded. It's like the perfect amount. Yeah, exactly. And it looked like on the screens and on the stream, like it looks like it's pretty full. And it was like certainly once you got closer up to the stage, it was pretty full, but everyone had ample dancing room, which was good.
Yeah, I also noticed that a lot of like pictures from the crowd last night where it looked like a really nice amount of room on like either side of folks, but like not like empty, like you were saying. It looked like a lot of people. So it's, the ideal scenario where you've got room to move, you've got room to dance, and there's a good amount of people there. And towards the end of the show too, I mean, the shots of the crowd were nuts. But in any case, the reason why I asked that is this is actually a pretty large show for them out west. So, 4,000 in attendance, 8,500 cap venue. And I was curious where they were at on that. So it sounds like they'd sold about half. But it feels like they wanted to go out there and play the hits. And that's what you got right off the bat. So, the thing that I was tweeting about last night was that it felt like a festival set. And this absolutely feels like a festival set in the first 3 songs. And I love the way they came out. They should do this kind of thing more often instead of, the Dr. Darkness, Mr. Action, Turbulence. Like it just, the vibe is just a whole lot better. Plus, your direction just is so chill, and it like looks like it's chill, like the scenery and like the temperature. It all sounds like if you're sitting there, you're just like hyper relaxed because everything around you is just so nice. So yeah, love that to start the show. And then of course, No California rules every time they play it. And then Turbulence, they had to do one of them. So that's what you get. You get the Turb. And Wicked Long Gap. I can't believe they went so long without
long
playing.
gap, kid.
Yeah, Wicked. It's crazy. So glad it's back, I guess. I mean, I think I kind of missed it. But
I mean, I love Turbulence. Like it's a fantastic song, and I mean the way that they approach the jam. I think the way that they started approaching it beginning of 2024, with really just taking their time with starting from like the very quiet zone and just building up to that peak is so good. And again, the full daylight, this song is perfect for that vibe. And yeah, this is kind of a festival set. Like the whole set really has that vibe, which is interesting. Yep. 5-pack of openers, Ev Dude said. This whole set outside of No California are openers. So that's just interesting stat for those following along at home. Next up,
very first set.
First set. So continuing on, second half of the set here, we've got Silver Rising, Rockdale, Hunger Sight, Give It Time. Silver Rising, it starts, obviously love the song, a little bit like, all right, like we are still playing, songs. Like let's get a little improv in here. And so Rockdale was a great way to kind of stretch out, pretty short. But you get this like modulation into that like gritty kind of dragonfly-ish space that they love. So I think a lot of great communication between Rick and Peter in that segment, which was a treat. And then Hunger Sight, pick up the energy a little, obviously. Fast-paced jamming, you got the Peter-led section, then you get the Rick-led section. I really like Rick approaching it with a lot of wah. He was kind of riding the wah pedal for that second half, for that peak. Which was really cool. And I thought the set was going to end after Hunger Sight, but Give It Time, wonderful. Again, like as the sun's starting to come down, just fits that vibe really nicely.
Yeah, not much more to add. The one thing I will say is when they started to play Hunger Sight, I was like, "Whoa, okay, so we're really leading into this festival set vibe," because that's super short rest even for Hunger Sight, which gets played, really often, but that's 2 shows, that it was on the bench for. So, that, yeah, there's intentionality behind this set for sure. It didn't just, like, work out to be a festival set. They were just doing Bottle Rock all over again, and, to a much greater effect. I think it was all really nice. I like the way that the Rockdale worked out. That was awesome. I like the little bit of a jam that you got in Hunger Sight. That sounded awesome. And then Give It Time to close the set. When they played that, I was just like, "Whoa, like, what? Like, what is going on?" They didn't need to play it in that spot. They could have saved it for the second set, no problem. Nobody would have been mad if they walked off that stage after Hunger Sight. But, you know, this is what they were doing.
Yeah, and great time management from them again last night. They're on just after 7:45. They didn't go long on the first set like they did on Wednesday, which meant they had ample time for the second set. And I mean, as you said at set break, Neil, last night, you were like, "Get ready."
Yeah. Well, I've been talking about this for a couple days now. I was looking forward to last night's show because I knew that there was going to be an outdoor show in Bend, which is just a shockingly beautiful place, and that the second set was going to be right around when the sun was going to set. And historically, there have been excellent jams when they're in these settings. Rick really does vibe off his surroundings in outdoor venues. And
Yep.
so I was like, well, that first song of the second set is going to be insane, whatever it is. And I think I said it on the last pod. And sure enough, that is what happened.
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Why don't you start
Yeah,
us off? Yeah.
also, you start to get Getty's lights becoming a factor as the sun is setting at the beginning of the second set. For those who may, this context might be appreciated for some people because I didn't really catch on until a few days ago. This is where Fish played in Bend in 2015. They did 2 nights here, I believe, to start the summer tour. So just for context, for those who might remember that. But okay, the band comes out. It's Thatch. We're like, all right, let's fucking go. And I don't really know what to expect from Thatch these days because you could get something like the Cincy or the Grand Rapids where it's like kind of linear, but like it's a really amazing and patient build and then just ripping peak. But last night feels like the most Type 2 this song has ever gone. I like it. This is the longest version of Thatch by almost 3 minutes. Kettle House 23, the boner Thatch, if you will, as Neil loves.
I believe
so much.
that's Missoula.
Yeah. The Kettle House Thatch is 24 minutes or so. This one was just over 27 minutes, I believe. And man, just like from the jump, you can tell that they're inspired. And this is one of the things that, like, when they kind of quote unquote perfect the formula of a song like they did with Thatch a while ago, or like they did with Mist last year, then the next version or the next couple of versions are like, what can we do differently in this song? How can we kind of, keep it fresh? Because like they've played the Cincinnati Thatch. You're never going to get a better, just straight up build jam than that. Or you might, but I mean, like,
You may.
they now want to go in a different direction with it. And so it felt like there's an intention, like, we're going to jam the shit out of this. And you start off Peter doing that like amazing like lead clav stuff. And I love the way that, Rick throughout this Thatch, and, he obviously lets loose in that bigger peak towards the end, but there's a lot of restraint from Rick, and a lot of very more intention behind his notes. And he's like picking very carefully when he's going to play. Like even when he was in the lead in that initial kind of that first more upbeat peak section that developed, it was very deliberate the way that he was choosing his notes and his riffs. Like he wasn't just shredding a peak the way that he can and the way that he did later on. And yeah, that first section, I mean, I want to just go by section here because there's so much to talk about. But that first section, the way it develops, atop Peter's very, drawn out clav stuff, remind me a bit of the SPAC 2023 a little bit, the way that he did it in that jam. And yeah, that first peak was just like, okay, like we're going deep.
Yeah. So you said the thing that I was going to say, which is right away, it sounded, I don't know, mysterious psychedelic. I don't know.
Yeah.
Exactly in the same way that SPAC 2023 sounded, especially by Peter. I mean, Peter sounds like he was just kind of covering the 2023 SPAC batch. And I mean, excellent version. And cool that they revisited that vibe because it was perfect for that moment. And also, right away, you know something's happening here. They're really they're trying on this one, and they were going to find something. In terms of sections, though, I don't think I have super in-depth thoughts on sections yet, just because I've only listened to it 3 times. But I plan on listening to it a bunch more. I really need this jam to settle in for me because there are segments of it that were mind blowing. 2 distinct sections where I was just like, I can't believe this is happening.
Well, yeah, and they come down off of that first peak, and then a lot of times, Goose will be like, "All right, we're going to finish the jam from there." Like they could have easily come back in. Would have been a very good 15, 16-minute thatch.
Yeah.
Then they keep going. You get that dreamy section. Peter goes to the vibe, and again, this is a Cotter jam. Once again, for all the amazing stuff that the other 3 members are doing, Cotter is the reason why this jam ends up being so good, because they hit the second peak, and then again you're like, all right, they're going to finish up from here, and then Cotter does the double time thing. As we know, that is when the coolest shit happens. And Avi pointed out to me earlier when we were listening to this in the car. He said he noticed last night Rick kind of gave Cotter a look when he did that, all right, let's fucking go. We're gonna keep going here. And then Rick and Peter kind of drive together into that descending lick thing. And so Cotter does this double time thing.
Yep.
And I the way that everything drops out except for the drums for a little bit is so cool. And you get into that kind of very tense, flying by the seat of your pants zone. And then when they kind of roar in and Cotter just drops back into the halftime, and then it's just thrashy for the last few minutes. Oh my God, it was nuts. I was cackling.
Yeah, I mean that's a cackler. I think anybody who heard that is just like what? I mean,
yeah.
It's bananas. And the interesting thing about this particular section, so they find this space a lot now. This is familiar territory for us. And the thing that I always say is I love this stuff. It's not the most danceable stuff. You have to kind of soak it in and just kind of vibe with it. This one actually does stay very danceable, which is interesting. It's a different approach to this style, and I think it's the most unique of it, unique example of it this year. Almost seems like they're going to a different place with this jamming style, or they're exploring maybe taking it into a more melodic zone. Sure. And that was the feeling that I got last night. It was like a mature approach to this thing. They're not just going up there and making weird sounds for the sake of making weird sounds and freaking people out. They're actually trying to find musicality in it, and it sounds sick.
Well, I think one of the things about the way that Goose approaches these kind of jams is that they don't kind of get into a soup. It's not just let's all make weird noises in dissonant jams. Especially the way they've been doing it recently with Cotter. It's Rick and Peter chasing each other, through up and down scales. It's kind of how I always describe it. But also with very active Cotter and Trevor. So I think whether it's danceable or not, there's a lot of very intense musicianship that goes into a jam like this.
Yeah,
and it's not just a haze where they're all making sounds.
Right. Yeah, I mean, excellent stuff. I wish, I wish that vibe continued for the rest of the night. I wish it was a tale of two shows where it was first set, festival set, and then just jams.
Before we move on from there, let's do a little hasty training here. Where are you thinking this thatch lands on your playlist?
I think it's reasonable to look at it in the same neighborhood as the Madavans and the Everything Must Goes of the Milwaukee and Grand Rapids run.
I will agree with you there. Goat Thatch.
Is it the best one they've ever played?
I have to A-B it with Montana. Still.
We have to listen to this next to Montana's a remarkable piece of music.
It is.
So I don't know. I haven't listened to Montana in probably a year. So I need to go back and listen to that. But yes, no, this is an excellent version. I think this is the best this far and away is the best jam they've played since they started up again in May.
Since February. This is yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
And yeah, I mean, yes, the two best jams they've got so far since Gonzo are Thatches, which is interesting. And
good call.
so it's an interesting jam vehicle. Is it going to be the jam vehicle of the summer? Maybe.
Let's
I don't
find
know.
out.
Well, tonight's Everything Must Go. We'll put that to the test. We'll see.
All right. Well, let's move on here. People love our opinions on Autumn Crossing here. But first we get nice little sauce infused Feel It Now, and I'm like, all right, like let's go. Like we're gonna get Madhavan next. We're gonna get Drive next. We're gonna get Arrow next. Redbird was on the set list for after this. And I just want to say, Neil, before you give your thoughts, I was upset when they started Travelers. By the end of it, I was like, all right, like this is good. I felt as though, some of these in the past have either felt like they didn't have the emotional impact necessary for the Autumn Crossing, or that they like kneecapped a jam that was like happening that could have kept going, like Pittsburgh, for example. We got this giant thatch. And, there are a lot of people who are really excited about Autumn Crossing. I think that this one had the setting and had the emotional impact that is necessary to play this suite, like Boston, Pittsburgh, those didn't, in my opinion. This one did. I'd like to give a huge shout out to friend of the pod, Shawnee Mack. It was his first Autumn Crossing. El Meg was like his number 1 chase song.
Wow.
So he was over the moon last night to get that. But yeah, would I have preferred a 20-minute Redbird? Absolutely. But by the end of El Meg, I was like, I'll come to terms with it. Like this should be reserved for an outdoor amphitheater. But I'm still of the mind of like, it eats 25 to 30 minutes of a set, and especially in a set 2 when they have an impending early curfew, not what you maybe want to
hear. Yeah, I mean, the criticism still stands about Autumn Crossing. My thoughts are that it is a very long piece of music, and you don't get really any substantive improv. So if you're going to put that in a second set, that feels tough to me. 30 minutes without improv is really, really long time. So that's where I'm like coming from. And what absolutely. I don't want people to do is like clip this and put this on Reddit or something and say like the last time we talked about Autumn Crossing that, these guys hate Autumn Crossing. I don't hate Autumn Crossing. I absolutely love the 2 songs. I have preferences about where I would want them to appear, as I think most people have preferences where they want to hear songs. And in general, and this is not just Autumn Crossing, I don't want 30 minutes back to back of any songs in the second set that aren't going to jam. Period. It's not just Autumn Crossing. I think the songs themselves are beautiful. I just don't like them back to back.
Agreed.
But, I think the thing that I do want to say is in this set, it does work in this show to some degree or another, because I think it's just a really well curated show all around. There's actually not anything bad about how this whole show shook out. It all looks really, really good. And in fact, you could press this thing on vinyl and it would be a great record to spin. And, maybe that was their approach. Maybe that was their thinking. I don't know. But it's neat the way this one flows. You get the very big jam, and then you get the Feel It Now, and then, you get this kind of really super awesome vibe. If they, I would have been super happy if they just jammed out El Meg like a little bit. They have jammed El Meg before. I don't know why they don't anymore.
It's been a long time. Yeah, I mean, I love Don't Leave Me This Way, and I was so happy they did that. But like, if they give that time to the El Meg, then you can get somewhere, right? Like, and then the Autumn Crossing is like, oh, like, you still have a while before you get to the jam, but then there is a jam. So yeah, I'm totally on the same page. Love both of these songs. I think the best place to play this is like an encore where you don't have an impending curfew, because if it's in an encore with an impending curfew and you want to do Autumn Crossing, then that can potentially affect the second set. But I think Fiddler's still the perfect example of where to put this song.
Yeah. So like just to pause on this for one last thought. if they had just played Madhavan in this spot, we would be having a very different conversation, and it was due to be played. Like, I just wish they went out there and just burned Madhavan down, and it would have been a very different show. It would have been a very different set, and it would have been amazing. But that is not what went down. And again, I understand that everybody's looking for something different in these shows. There are people who are going to hear what we're saying right now and be like, "These guys are idiots." That's an amazing set, and I don't
Hey, man.
necessarily disagree.
We are idiots.
We are idiots. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I think there are plenty of people who are going to be super stoked on this. I definitely am not like looking down my nose at people who have that opinion. I get it. I totally get it. It's just not my vibe. That's all.
That makes a lot of sense. Don't Leave Me This Way. Love that this is sticking around. This cover is awesome. Crowd went nuts for it. I mean, I don't have a ton to say about it beyond that, but I'm a huge fan.
I love this song in shows. This was actually the perfect choice to follow all of the madness that happened. I mean,
100%.
for somebody who is uninitiated to Goose, that second set must have been truly bizarre. You know, you get
Right.
like this insane jam, and then you get like 30 minutes of like kind of slower stuff, and then like I imagine folks who were just out to party were like, let's party, you know, and Goose obliges. They play this song and it's a party. Like, you need to watch the stream, and just the crowd shots are nuts. The way people are throwing down like 10, 15 rows back is crazy. And they're going for that this year. They want people to dance. They are designing their shows in a way to get people dancing more so than they, I think, ever have. Like, I think they have an idea of the set list. They're looking at it and they're like, this is the spot where we're going to get people to absolutely go bananas. And that was this.
Yeah, 100%. And then we get, encore that shit. Hot tea, quick little right before curfew, squeeze it in. Empress was on the set list. Obviously they didn't have time for that. But yeah, quick, nice little end to the show. Again, get people dancing.
Yeah, not much more to say about it. I actually love Hot Tea in this role. For the longest time,
there's a reason why encore that shit is a thing.
Yeah, so for the longest time, they insisted on making Hot Tea like a weird centerpiece of the show. It would always be like 15 to 20 minutes, and they just put like a lot of pressure on the song to do more for a super long time. And now I like it in this kind of, they just kind of throw it in there in the encore. It's Hot Tea. It's fun. It doesn't have to be this whole big thing. And it's great in that role. And now they've got so many dang songs now that they can do in this spot. It's great. It's really cool.
Yeah, and then all right, that brings us to the end of Goose in Bend. We are on the road to Spokane, of course. Garrett's here.
Hey, Garrett.
We're getting ready to see Goose again tonight. Getty is very excited. We got to chat with him for a second last night. He's very excited about the tent at the Spokane Pavilion. I don't know if people remember from fall 2023. There's like extra lights that he gets to use. So really looking forward to that tonight. Another perfect weather day. So can't wait. And hopefully we get that Madhavan. That's
big Madhavan tonight. Big everything must go tonight. I feel like there has to be.
This is what I'm saying. It's you've heard of Big Madhavan.
Yeah.
That's
Please
the
play. I mean, so let's talk about that for a moment. So like, if they don't play Madhavan tonight, what does it mean? Does it mean that it's like shelved for a bit?
It means they're going to play it at Fiddler's again. No, it means that they're probably going to play it in Boise tomorrow, or in Vegas. But
are you doing Boise, by the way? Are you going to Boise, or are you skipping Boise?
Tonight is it for me until Fiddler's.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, tonight is going to be an interesting show. It is very, very stacked up right now. They're doing a really good job of keeping it stacked up. And I imagine they're going to try to keep it that way through Fiddlers. So it's going to be interesting. I have high hopes for tonight. Very, very beautiful venue. Very, very loaded bag of songs to play.
Yes.
So, good stuff.
All right.
Yeah. Remember, folks, if you get to the show early and you hear the sound check,
oh my God,
don't play the sound check songs on Fantasy Goose. Some people might have done it.
Also,
those people should show a lot of remorse.
And you picked those songs before, you should change your picks, because Neil will accuse you of cheating if you get
Yeah.
points. That is
True.
what happens. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Anyway, everyone, thanks for tuning in today. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We will see you tomorrow afternoon. I will be live from Casa de Haps in Denver, Colorado for tomorrow's pod.
Amazing.
Whatever. I'm not Spanish. I don't pronounce casa properly. Garrett is criticizing me. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the show tonight. Of course, see you out there for Storm Tracker before the show if you're in Spokane.
Storm Tracker. Really? It's now changed?
It's Storm Tracker. That's what it is now. But we will see you tomorrow afternoon to recap tonight's show. Of course, have a great time. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.